Sam I Am, Living Water Ministries. What I would like to talk about today is where will the next earthquake be? I believe by reading the birds and the dead fish, they are telling us where it's going to happen. Birds and fish are dying all over the world, all along the coast. And there have been many tragedies along the coast also. I believe the birds, fish are telling us of tragedies that are coming. Since January the 1st, when the birds first started dying, I've been saying that they are teaching us about the tragedies that are to come. All the dead birds and all the dead fish are resembling the people. I would like to read you this verse, and this verse is found in Job chapter 12, verse 7 through 10. Job chapter 12, verse 7 through 10. And it goes like this. But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord has wrought this? This is found, this Job chapter 12, verse 7 through 10. What are the birds telling us? What are the fish telling us? Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time. After Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, their lieutenant said, "We have awoken a sleeping giant, the U.S., the United States of America." After the war, Japan has been feeding the U.S. with cars, tools, electronics, everything you could think of, tools, all kinds of different goods. The U.S. is one of the giants of the world. And Japan has been feeding this giant ever since I can remember. Now, let's look at the fish. 1 million sardines washed up dead on the shore. Who eats the sardines in the ocean? The whales, the giants of the sea, is their link. The town Sunday had 1 million population, and they were completely wiped out, almost completely. Many of them went out to sea. The ocean is giving up their fish and taking in souls. We will be hit next. Where will we be hit next? Let's look at the birds. In Sonoma, Geyserville, a flock of birds were found dead, southbound on 101, at the little town called Geyserville. Now, if you get a map, and you draw a little line with the ruler straight down from 101, where will it lead you? It leads you right to Oakland. It leads you to Oakland. I believe by the bird signs that I've looked at that Oakland is going to be hit next with a major earthquake. But I don't believe it's going to be huge like in Japan, because the flock of birds wasn't really big. It was a lot smaller. I don't see it being a real big earthquake, but it will be an earthquake. Don't take a chance. I would move the children and the elderly. I would move them further inland. Not a bad time to visit the in-laws inland, right? If they live inland. Now, just look at this for 1 second. A white baby polar bear, a white baby polar bear was found dead in the zoo. Now this has nothing to do with out in the wild. It was found dead in the zoo. If you look at this, if you do this, if you just take out the B and replace it from the white and put it in the bear, and this is what it would spell: Bay beware, Bay beware. And if you look at what was left from taking the W out of white, it's height, up. Bay beware, height. Maybe that's telling us to go to higher ground. But it may be just a coincidence. After all, I did take out one letter and change it. Between now and the end of April, I believe we will have an earthquake centered in Oakland. How do you think? Because if you just think of a couple of these points. If you think of, how do you think God feels when He sees pastors being dragged out of their churches? And what was their crime? Their only crime was trying to teach God's word. And they're being dragged out in handcuffs. How do you think God sees that? Pastors dragged out of churches in handcuffs. What was the crime? Their crime was trying to teach God's word. Man will drag his brother out to the street because of greed. If I am right, an edge of San Francisco will be cut or will fall into the bay. An edge of San Francisco will fall or slide into the bay. The best thing that could really happen here is that I am wrong. But since January, I've been saying the fish and the birds are showing us of tragedies. And so far, look at all the things that have happened in the world. All over the world. Fish and birds are dying. And I know you have heard of HAARP. HAARP, if HAARP was real, would they really be affecting us in our own country? Killing ourselves? That's what they would be doing. If the government was running a program that was hurting us, America, they would be actually killing ourselves, and they wouldn't do that. I really believe that God is showing us signs with all these birds and all the fish that are dying all over the world, that He is showing us of tragedies that are to come. And this will just continue until the end of April. Between now and April, we will have another earthquake, and I believe it will be centered in Oakland. And after April, we will come into a calm. We will come into a calm. And after that, we have to look up to the skies and look into the oceans and see what the birds show us, what the birds will teach us, and what the fish will declare unto us, just as the Bible tells us. Now, I know that in Geyserville, they were saying that a big truck hit all the birds, and that's why they died. And they said they even had a witness. But if you really think about it, how fast do the trucks travel? Let's just say 65 miles an hour. But if they go at their normal speed, which is 70 or 75 miles an hour, what would happen to the birds if they hit that truck? Well, I have a little illustration here. And here is my bird. Here's my bird. Now, if we take this bird, and I will only try, I'm going to throw it, but it's only going to go a few miles an hour. Nowhere near 70 to 75 miles an hour. Now I will go over to the truck. There is a truck over here. See this truck? This is the truck, and if this bird were to hit this truck, and I'm only doing it a few miles an hour. But what would happen if my little bird ran into that truck? Well, let's see. Ooh, there wouldn't be much left of the bird, right? There wouldn't be much left of the bird if it hit that truck, and only a few miles an hour. Now, we have to get ready if this does come to pass. So what you need to do, you need to ask God. Ask God to show you the safe place to go. For God says, ask and you shall receive. Sam I Am, Living Water Ministries. Thank you.